Yo, welcome back to another video. Uh, we're still at the house, still waiting.
WWE might have a huge problem on its hands, and I want to actually talk about it because I don't know if WWE is truly outsmarting us, if they're working us, or if they are doing all of this intentionally. But I have found that WWE has a big problem, and yes, I think it's actually a good problem to have. Now, we have seen over the course of the last month the impact that Jacob Fatu has had since being in the WWE, and more specifically WWE SmackDown. That is, of course, until Roman Reigns returned. Now, the OTC, the original tribal chief, Roman Reigns, has returned to the WWE as a massive babyface, and he was trying to get back at the bloodline. But instead, somebody was missing, and that was Jacob Fatu. Now, a lot of this stems from the fact that WWE could potentially have Jacob Fatu be selling a fake injury. Now, if you guys don't know, influencers, content creators such as the Haroon twins, they recently posted a video clip of them, and this video has surfaced where you can see Jacob Fatu in a walking boot. So when Roman Reigns returned last weekend on SmackDown and he went up the bloodline, Jacob Fatu wasn't there. But is this because WWE has a trick up their sleeve, or is Jacob Fatu truly injured? And it got me thinking that WWE has multiple ways to go.
That's old news.
Trolling Valorant players with a neon voice changer.
No more.
Reyna, you want to see how fast Neon really
We'll
is?
skip
I like the
one new video. I'll update the title.
We're starting with Odyssey Jones, whose profile has been removed from WWE.com, raising questions about the status of the powerhouse who was recently pushed on Raw. Now, a huge update has come about as Brian Alvarez of Wrestling Observer Live reports that Jones has been fired following allegations of domestic violence. Alvarez writes, "There has not been a press release or anything like that, but I've been told Odyssey Jones is fired. There are rumors online, also from Fightful, that it was a domestic violence allegation. Apparently no arrests at this point, but I was told fired. So that's it for Odyssey Jones." This development comes after it was reported that WWE had pulled Jones from all programming following the allegations, including this week's episode of Monday Night Raw. On the show, there was no mention of Jones during a backstage segment featuring the New Day's Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, which many at the time saw as a sign he was finished. Jones' termination comes less than 1 month after he made his main roster debut and was given quite the push by being aligned with the New Day. Not only that, but Jones' debut saw him single-handedly dispatch of AOP on the August 4th Raw and receive a public endorsement from Triple H, who spoke of Jones' bright future in WWE. That future will not come to be as Jones, real name Omari Palmer, has finished his time with WWE after first joining the promotion in 2019. It wouldn't be until the summer of 2021 that he'd debut in NXT, and while he was called up to the main roster in April 2023, it wasn't until this year that he actually debuted on Raw. As of now, there have been no reports of an arrest related to the allegations, but the situation has clearly impacted Jones' career, and we'll continue to follow his situation for updates. How do you think WWE should handle situations like this to ensure transparency and accountability while protecting the rights of those involved? Let us know in the comments. With his title retained at WWE Bash in Berlin, Cody Rhodes is set to respond to Solo Sikoa on an upcoming SmackDown, as the Tribal Chief still has his sights set on the undisputed WWE title. On the go-home SmackDown before Germany's first WWE PLE, Sikoa made clear that he would challenge whoever left Berlin with the gold, but when will this rematch with Rhodes happen? According to Brian Alvarez, the rematch between Rhodes and Sikoa is confirmed, but it won't be taking place at WWE's next PLE Bad Blood, but instead at a later date. While the timing of the event is uncertain, it is possible it'll come at WWE Crown Jewel in November, especially since it's believed Sikoa is already booked for Survivor Series. It's been reported that Sikoa will take part in War Games at the November PLE against a team led by Roman Reigns, meaning it's unlikely a rematch with Cody will come at the same event. Cody and Sikoa will meet again. The only question now is when, as while Crown Jewel could be the date, WWE could potentially save the match for an even bigger stage. When do you think the rematch should happen? And how would you book this upcoming chapter of Solo Sikoa versus Cody Rhodes? Sound off in the comments. Now, Charlotte Flair's been out of action since December of last year when she suffered an injury against Asuka on the Tribute to the Troops edition of SmackDown. Flair suffered a torn ACL, MCL, and meniscus following an awkward spot and underwent surgery shortly after, with fans able to follow her recovery through social media. Now, after 8 months out of action due to the injury, a new report has shed some light on return plans for Flair and who she could step in the ring with next. PWN reports that Flair is expected to be part of SmackDown upon her return, and that a WWE Women's Championship match with Nia Jax is likely somewhere down the line. A match with Tiffany Stratton was also deemed a possibility in an upcoming PLE, though one name she won't be facing is Asuka, who is now on the Raw roster and also injured. Are you excited to see Flair take on Jax and Stratton, or would you rather see her tangle with some other women in WWE, and if so, who? Give your picks down in the comments section. In May of this year, Jordynne Grace arrived in NXT mere months after her appearance in the Women's Royal Rumble and played a pivotal part in the ongoing NXT-TNA relationship. On this week's NXT, the Juggernaut returned to the Gold brand via a pre-recorded message and spoke of WWE Week on the USA Network that she wants to be a part of. Grace shared that after speaking with Ava, it's been decided that she'll defend the TNA Knockouts World title in an open challenge on an upcoming edition of NXT. This historic match will mark the first time a TNA-sanctioned title has been defended in a WWE ring, in a huge sign of the strength of the relationship between the two parties. Grace spoke of wanting to face the very best NXT has to offer, and who do you hope to see get a shot at becoming TNA Knockouts World Champion? Sound off in the comments.
Wouldn't it be crazy if you could create voiceovers that sound like
a raspy old man,
a young teenage girl,
or a guy with a
young teenager?
On this week's Raw, Joe Tessitore made his debut as a WWE commentator and has been thrown in at the deep end as the lead announcer for WWE's biggest weekly show. Tessitore's high-profile arrival was announced months ago, and expectations were high for the broadcaster who comes to WWE after lengthy runs with ESPN and ABC. Sean Ross Sapp noted on Fightful Select that there was a lot of excitement about Joe Tessitore's Raw debut, though those backstage admitted that there were some growing pains and hiccups. Those issues are to be expected given it was Joe's first night on the job, and Fightful adds that WWE were satisfied with how things worked and thought Joe sounded great on the air. While WWE may be happy, many fans online were not, with complaints sprouting online that he was boring and lacked energy as a WWE commentator. Some argued that Tessitore was quiet for the majority of the show, leaving Wade Barrett to do most of the work, but it's worth remembering that this was his first night on the job. Tessitore will need some time to improve, and WWE are hopeful he lasts longer than some unfortunate picks for commentary, such as Adnan Virk and Jimmy Smith. Away from WWE, Tessitore will be able to remain with ESPN while fulfilling his duties on Raw, so sports fans will still get to hear from the new Raw commentator. It remains to be seen how Joe Tessitore will do on Raw, but he will be under Michael Cole's wing, learning from one of the best along the way. But what would you rate Joe Tessitore's first night on a scale of 1 to 10? Let us know your scores down in the comments.
I'd say 8.
Over to NXT, and Roxanne Perez has been dominant in her second reign as NXT Women's Champion, but at NXT No Mercy came face-to-face with a massive signing. On this week's NXT, Perez began by name-dropping her list of victims, including her No Mercy opponent Jada Parker, before declaring that nobody could dethrone her. Perez's arrogance was met with a surprise appearance of Chelsea Green, who wanted another shot at the NXT Women's title, but the hot mess was taken down by Julia. The Japanese sensation who debuted at No Mercy stared straight at Perez and issued a challenge for the title, stating, "You, me, CW," setting the stage for a blockbuster showdown. Julia wants the title match when NXT moves to the CW network on October 1st, and this match will likely guarantee a sold-out show in Chicago, Illinois. It's likely that Julia will win, giving Perez a perfect opening to head to the main roster, and this match has been in the works since NXT Stand and Deliver in April. At that event, Perez won the title from Lyra Valkyria, and Julia was seen in the crowd before that match, though it's unclear if Perez was aware of Julia's appearance beforehand. There is speculation that Perez was kept in the dark, and when Viper Reports asked if anyone else was considered for the mystery spot, sources confirmed that no other names were seriously considered. The secrecy around Julia's NXT arrival was high, with NXT sources not seeing her until just before the finish of Roxanne Perez versus Jada Parker. The report adds that WWE has big plans for Julia, including making her the new face of NXT's women's division, and plans on keeping her in NXT for an extended period. This will allow her time to get comfortable with a WWE environment. And what do you make of a title match between Julia and Roxanne Perez on the CW? Sound off in the comments. At NXT No Mercy, Tony D'Angelo gave his all against Oba Femi, but like so many others, came up short in his efforts to dethrone the dominant North American champion. D'Angelo certainly took a beating from Femi in the match, and Fightful Select reports that officials backstage at the show were worried that the Don was genuinely hurt. Tony waved off the referee multiple times during the course of his match, showing that he was willing to continue and was able to finish the match despite fears of an injury. D'Angelo did appear on last night's NXT but did not compete in the ring, and we hope to have an update on the Don's condition after worrying those backstage. In a vignette, Ridge Holland explained betraying Chase U at No Mercy, saying he was the one to bring Chase U back to prominence with a new look in Classroom, not Duke Hudson. Holland derided Hudson and Riley Osborne, recalling that at NXT Heatwave, Hudson and Andre Chase couldn't win the NXT tag titles, even with Osborne and Thea Hale being at ringside. Ridge vowed that the step-by-step destruction of Chase U begins next week, with a special message for Hale telling her, "Thea, I'm gonna love every minute of it." The segment ended with him stomping on the Chase U trophy that is typically carried by Hudson. And what did you make of Ridge's heel turn and this vignette? Let us know below.
Thought it was nice.
It's really extraordinary being surrounded by such
Seems like
scale.
it's really
We'll do the first season justice, I hope.
It's good to be back in the saddle.
In December 2022, Mandy Rose was released from WWE just one day after losing the NXT Women's Championship after the company learned of the explicit content on her fan site. Rose later said that she was never given the chance to take the content down before being released, and while she said she'd never return to WWE, it appears things have changed. While speaking to SE Scoops, Rose shared that if she were to return to wrestling, her ultimate goal would be to perform on Raw or SmackDown, where she'd showcase her new mentality. After making a significant impact in NXT, Rose believes that it'd be time to take that energy to the main roster, but made clear that she appreciated her time as part of the Gold brand. With that said, Rose's end goal is to perform in front of larger crowds and be on TV, and envisions her return would come with an edgier attitude and focused on making a statement. Whether that return is as a solo act or as part of a group like what we saw with Toxic Attraction, Rose is determined to be a more determined, fearless version of herself in WWE once more. In the interview, Rose was asked about whether she's taking any pleasure in Vince McMahon's fall from grace, as it was ultimately his call that ended her career as a WWE superstar. Rose said that she's not one to take pleasure in others' misfortune, but did say that she's a strong believer in karma and believes she was a little bit wrongfully treated by WWE. Rose hasn't competed since her exit from WWE and hardly needs to take bumps again, as she made over $1 million from her site subscriptions in the month after being released. Ultimately, no amount of money can quite match the roar of the WWE Universe. And do you believe Rose will return one day? Let us know in the comments section below. Later this month, a new docuseries on Netflix will focus on the life of Vince McMahon, with 6 one-hour episodes chronicling his rise and dramatic fall in the wrestling business. According to Post Wrestling, Library Films, the production company behind Mr. McMahon, attempted multiple times to secure an interview with Janelle Grant, ultimately to no avail. While Grant's accusations resulted in McMahon's exit from WWE, she won't be featured in the doc, and her absence has sparked speculation about the balance and fairness of the project. After all, McMahon himself has been interviewed for the docuseries, and as the release date nears, fans and critics are left wondering what kind of McMahon we'll see in the series. Given McMahon's complex legacy, marked by both groundbreaking achievements and deeply troubling allegations, there is anticipation and skepticism in equal measure. But do you think the Mr. McMahon documentary series will offer a fair assessment of his life and career? Let us know below. Since turning on Sheamus, Pete Dunne has taken a darker road and on NXT was seen brooding when Trick Williams reached out to him for advice after losing his NXT title at Heatwave. Trick didn't know that this would be the catalyst of their rivalry, as Dunne would attack him soon after, and Trick started off this week's show by calling out Dunne, only to be met by Ethan Page. Fresh off his win at No Mercy, Page said he should be kicking off the show, and Trick said he called Page's match with Joe Hendry down the middle like he said he would. Once Trick is finished with Dunn, though, he's coming for the NXT champion, who said he'll defend in 4 weeks' time on the CW, but questioned if Trick will make it to the show. That was Pete Dunne's cue to ambush Williams, but it was scouted and both men brawled despite security's efforts to separate them. Ava told them both they had to settle things in the ring, even if it meant the planned main event of the show started earlier, and they kept brawling until they both fell through the announce table. With that in mind, Ava raised the stakes for their next encounter, which will come next week and be a last man standing match that will hopefully see a decisive winner. A non-finish in a feud this intense is a little disappointing, but promises that a more definitive result will happen with a stipulation down the line. This week's match was good, but the best is going to come with the main event spotlight and a stipulation next week. And what did you think to this week's brawl? Sound off below. In more TNA influence, the Rascals defeated the OC and Hank and Tank to earn a shot at the NXT Tag Team titles, setting up a clash with Nathan Frazier and Axiom next week. This match will hopefully eclipse the previous tag title match with MSK, and while it's likely Wes Lee will spoil things for his former allies, this story is a sign of the strength of the NXT TNA alliance. What do you make of the Rascals earning a title match? Will Zachary Wentz and Trey Miguel win the gold? Let us know below. TNA's Rosemary returned to take on Tatum Paxley, this time with Wendy Chu in her corner, and when Paxley got the win, Chu and Rosemary were poised to give her a beatdown. Instead, Paxley was saved by her old friend and Raw superstar Lyra Valkyria, who ran off Chu and Rosemary, and after an embrace, Paxley jumped into Lyra's arms. It appears that Valkyria will be helping Tatum Paxley with her new foes, and what do you make of the Valkyrie's return to
She cutting it on the rewatch. She ain't even doing nothing, bro. Just speed up.
to NXT? More on WWE releases as Jacob Robinson is now leaving the company. He has been the lead production designer for the company for a long time and has been attached to WWE for the past 23 years. Robinson has been crucial to how things have been done for production for a very long time, with everyone extremely familiar with him. According to a report by PW Insider, Jacob Robinson is either finishing up with the company this week or has already done so at Bash in Berlin. The report went on to reveal the reaction backstage at the news of his release and his leaving the company. It stated that the departure has left a lot of people shocked given the enormous role he had backstage for so long. He was known as a Kevin Dunn guy, and since Dunn left the company some time ago, this may be Robinson following in his footsteps. The report also stated that Robinson's role in determining the look and feel of the company was crucial and was the reason that the shows look like they do. The report further stated that his departure was described as very much the end of an era for the company. The release comes after Michelle Carlucci was released recently, and Odyssey Jones was also let go. Are WWE making some serious mistakes by letting go of experienced personnel, or is it time for fresh blood to take over? Sound off in the comments below. Throughout this year, Hulk Hogan has continued to maintain his presence in WWE through various appearances and promotion endeavors with the company. Notably, Hogan was featured in a promo package for this year's Royal Rumble event, in which he teased that he might have one more match left in him. Months later, Hogan participated in Fanatics Fest NYC as a representative of WWE, and now fans can expect to see much more of the Hulkster in wrestling's biggest promotion. In October 2023, Hogan confirmed that he had re-signed with WWE, and now he's offering more details about his current deal and relationship with the company. On the Impulsive podcast, Hogan shared that he has signed a 5-year deal with WWE and also spoke highly of Nick Khan, comparing the WWE president to Vince McMahon. Hogan said that Khan is more matter-of-fact when it comes to business and recalled a discussion about using images that Khan was able to deal with swiftly. In comparison, Hogan feels that had the same talk about using images for his Real American Beer brand happened with Vince McMahon, it would have been a much longer process. Speaking of his beer, Hogan said that his new WWE deal means he can still pursue ventures outside the company, including his recently launched beverage range. Hogan didn't just talk about himself on the podcast, as he also gave suggestions about what WWE should do with Logan Paul, including inserting Paul in the Bloodline story. Hogan's reasoning was that Paul has history with Cody Rhodes and the Bloodline in the past, and Hogan went as far as to say Paul should be a WWE World Champion at some point. The Hulkster even pitched the idea of Paul not just being a babyface again, but becoming a top babyface in wrestling, though given his work so far, that may prove easier said than done. Like Paul, Hogan is no stranger to controversy, and what do you make of Hulk's new WWE deal, and what he has in mind for Logan Paul? Let us know below. We've got news from TNA now, as Giselle Shaw joined the promotion in 2022, but now the Filipino-Canadian wrestler's time with TNA has come to an end. Shaw requested to be released, Fightful Select reports, and this request was granted on the condition Shaw worked the recent Louisville tapings and put someone over before leaving. Shaw did both of those things, and it's reported that TNA worked smoothly to make Giselle's departure as easy as possible for both themselves and Shaw. Shaw will appear for Scott D'Amore's Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling, and TNA sources expect Giselle to be a regular there, so fans of Shaw will get to see Giselle in the ring soon enough. We have an update from Nikki Bella, as the former WWE superstar is reportedly taking steps to end her marriage with Artem Chigvintsev following a serious domestic violence incident. According to TMZ, Nikki has been actively searching for divorce lawyers since Friday with the intention of filing for divorce. This decision comes just a day after Artem allegedly attacked Nikki, resulting in physical injuries that led to his arrest on felony domestic violence charges. Nikki has not been wearing her wedding ring since the incident, including when she hosted the Chestnut Kobayashi hot dog eating contest in Las Vegas over the weekend. Sources also indicate that Artem is no longer staying at the family home and is currently living with a friend, while Nikki remains in the house with their 4-year-old son Mateo. The situation remains ongoing, and more developments are expected as Nikki moves forward with her plans to end the marriage. At NXT No Mercy, Alicia Taylor was back on the mic and announced the matches in the absence of Mike Rome, leaving fans to wonder where exactly Rome was during the show. Sean Ross Sapp clarified the situation on Fightful Select, reporting that Mike Rome is on a personal leave but is expected to return soon. Taylor once again announced the matches on last night's edition of NXT, and it remains to be seen when Mike Rome will return from his personal leave.
Bro, she done
Jada Parker walked into her match with Jasmine Nix with taped up ribs, a sign of the brutality of her women's title match at No Mercy, but the OTM member fought through the pain. Parker sealed the victory with Hypnotic, only to be attacked after the match by Fatal Influence, and Jada couldn't handle the numbers on her own. No one gained more credibility at No Mercy than Parker, who had a career-defining match with Roxanne Perez and stole the show, and this was a decent enough follow-up. It made sense to give Parker an opponent she could overcome while setting up future challengers, and Fatal Influence are an interesting threat to Parker. Jada has hardly been making friends in the locker room lately, and unless she can recruit some women to back her up, Parker may be woefully outnumbered in this feud. Overall, this was a successful segment despite a match that was only okay at best, and Parker sold well, but Nix is still too basic with her key offense to lead a match. Backstage, the No Quarter Catch crew told Gallus to quiet down and not to test their luck in a rematch with the young OG Javon Evans. That match saw Evans bring the speed to Joe Coffey, catching him with a tope suicida into the announce table, as well as a handspring sidekick that looked exceptional. Mark Coffey and Wolfgang tried to get involved, but Cedric Alexander helped clear the ringside area, and Evans got the win with a corner springboard corkscrew moonsault. Neither Evans nor Coffey got the time to shine in the same way in this match, but with that said, it was good to see the young OG back on the winning track. With Alexander backing him up, perhaps this is a chance to finally get Evans back in the title picture, possibly in the tag title picture if the NXT title picture is already occupied. Later, the young OG and Ren Sinclair agreed to a Heritage Cup match next week, leaving Charlie Dempsey frustrated once more. Lexis King defeated Oro Mensah on NXT in a solid, albeit short match, and we hope that this becomes a series of matches that'll bring out the best in both men. We're ending with Oba Femi, who demolished Channing Stacks Lorenzo on the show, all while a conflicted Tony D'Angelo watched on, uncertain if it was worth challenging Femi again. That was NXT, guys. How was it? Sound off in the comments below, and thanks for watching.
Yo, those are
Alright, thank y'all for watching, y'all.